Honorable Minister, welcome. No need to repeat what have been already said during the opening remarks by prestigious speakers who set the scene already. So my task is very complicated, but also simple. How do we moderate ministers? As we say in Nigeria, the oga at the top. How do we stop you to talk? But we'll try to do that. And I really count on your indulgence so that we can save time. We already spent 30 minutes. We have 30 minutes left. We will try to do that. So to set the scene, a little bit things to add. Rice, of course, no need to say, has become something very, very critical for our region. And usually, we used to be among ourselves, the West Africa. Your Excellency, from the Tanzania, do you have free visa for West African citizens? We have free visa among ourselves. So, he is our special guest. We want to give him the privilege to speak. You know, in West Africa, we always give priority to the guests, the invitees, so that you can a little bit talk about what is happening there. We were told that Tanzania have been able to achieve rice self-sufficiency. So the West African leaders here gathering want to know how these things happen. So the question is very simple. Tanzania have achieved that. What was the scale of the challenge Tanzania faced? Okay, and when, particularly which policies and investment made the difference in your own case? And what will you most encourage with West African government that are here? Maybe you will also learn from them, I believe. So because of your special, particular situation, you have 6 minutes. Others will not get 6 minutes, but he will have 6 minutes. So you have the floor, sir. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Actually, as you put it, Tanzania now approximately we produce about 2.6 million tons of rice. And this production make it second most important cereal crop after maize, which actually contributing almost 11% of the national food basket. And what contributed to that? It's a good question. Actually, deliberately, Tanzania government decided to reform its policies that support rice transformation. And that actually include national trade policy of 2023, of which actually it was an undertaking focusing on special focus on rice production to maintain food security and also industrialization objectives, of which actually it coincides with the current vision, national vision 2050, of which we are trying to place Tanzania as build a resilient economy, inclusive economy, and competitive in the regional integration. So this policy transformation actually focus on agro-processing and agro-industrialization and then value addition, strategic agricultural value chains, and export competitiveness. And beside that, the policy actually supported by National Agricultural Policy of 2013, which focused on addition to trade reforms. The focus was agricultural commercialization and modernization, increasing private sector participation in our economy. And we also managed to support our research institutions, especially on seed development and agricultural innovation, of which we managed to improve climate resilient rice seeds varieties and promoting certified seed production system. To realize this policy reform, we decided to transform also our investment policies and reforms in our investment framework, of which actually we realize agricultural sector as a main core for transformation of food security and strengthening because majority of Tanzania, 65%, are involved in the agricultural sector. So of which actually we need a competitive and predictable investment environment to attract more investors in that area. So we decided to simplify our investment approval processes, enhance investment protection mechanisms, and also improve access to service industrial land. So this reform, we witnessed an influx of new investors flooding in Tanzania on commercial rice farming, irrigation, building irrigation infrastructure, and also modern rice milling, storage and warehousing, and also packaging industry. The sixth-phase government also managed to invest heavily on infrastructure system, connecting rural roads and also trunk roads, and also rail roads. As we can see now, Tanzania, we managed to build over almost 500 kilometers of standard gauge rail from Dar es Salaam to Dodoma, Dodoma to Makutopola, and probably next year we are going to reach in Tabora. So this standard gauge railway managed to connect agricultural production areas to major domestic and export markets. Expansion also modernizing our port in Dar es Salaam, Tanga, and we are going to have massive expansion of our port in Mtwara and in Mbaba Bay. Actually, is connecting the production areas and export infrastructure. So in that case, how we manage to reach grassroots level, rural areas in this transformation through local government supporting scheme, we have a policy of which 10% of the all revenue within local government has to support youth, women, and people with disability. And the main focus is on agricultural production, trying to mechanize our agriculture through these funds. And also the government managed to introduce agricultural input trust fund. And also Tanzania Agricultural Development Bank has been working hard to mobilizing funds and disperse those funds in different finance schemes. So what actually West Africa ECOWAS has to learn from Tanzania? One thing they have to learn is there is no transformation in agriculture without actually government intervention. So we subsidize heavily on fertilizer support to our farmers. And for example, last year we decided to subsidize over 800,000 tons of fertilizer, which actually distributed countrywide. And that actually increased the productivity by 29%. And at the moment, we are proud saying that fertilizer utilization has been increased by almost 17%, and also has been increased also the harvest. Of course, we have challenges with the post-harvest loss. The question here is the key lessons from Tanzania. Irrigation is critical, of course. So building infrastructure in irrigation is very crucial. And also agriculture and industry must move together. So our industrialization move focus coincided by our heavy investment in subsidies and agricultural transformation. And involvement of private sector, we can't actually underestimate the role of private sector in any transformation. That's why within our National Development Vision of 2050, we account private sector to contribute over 70% in realization of our 25 years development vision. And of course, we are lucky. Tanzania is member of EAC, East African Community, and on the other side, we are member of SADC, of which actually gives us access of 400 million market. So whatever we produce, we are sure that we can sell to our neighbors. So, in conclusion, actually, I do appreciate a lot for people who actually find the importance of rice within ECOWAS framework, that you need to be self-sufficient, because actually food always gives anybody's freedom. And I give you assurance that Tanzania, we are always ready to share with you our experience so that our brothers in West Africa also, they can achieve in this manner. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I will not try to summarize. I think everybody have took note of what you said: infrastructure, private sector, policy instruments, simplification. I believe we have similar cases in our countries. Let me move to Honorable Commissioner, Dr. Kalilou Silla, and I will switch in French. Monsieur le Commissaire, on vous a beaucoup entendu ce matin, avec de très belles présentations. On sait que la CEDEAO, comme toutes les communautés économiques régionales, ont un mandat de coordination, de planification, de structuration dans divers domaines. Mais avec tout ce que vous avez vu, tout ce que vous avez observé, la CEDEAO a adopté la fameuse feuille de route jusqu'en 2035, n'est-ce pas? Et les pays ont désormais des plans nationaux d'investissement. Ça, c'est un travail énorme. Je crois qu'on a 8 ou 9 pays qui ont des plans d'investissement, ce qui est formidable. D'un point de vue régional, quelles sont les actions clés en matière de politique et de coordination nécessaires pour traduire ces plans-là en un agenda de transformation? Comme vous-même vous l'avez dit, et vous avez dit, bon, notre patron commun disait, trop de réunions, on veut des actions concrètes. Comment vous le traduisez? Vous avez la parole. 5 minutes, pas plus.
Thank you so much. I'll come back to the question. I think what is important in ECOWAS today is to have an ecosystem, a viable ecosystem to implement policies. That's very important. You know that what is the foundation of our organization is to ensure that we have what I call the environment, the private sector, the farmers, and also govern all the regional economic bodies. That's essential for transformation. Look at the last, you are in ECOWAS at this time as the Director of Agriculture. You know the work done so far in terms of having an agricultural policy. We can govern sales, UMOA, but all the partners at regional level to ensure that the coordination, synergy of action in terms of having an ecosystem, regional ecosystem, and viable for actions. How you can build this ecosystem, this regional ecosystem, with all your partners, and having the possibility to have what I call to give the work to the regional bodies in relation with this is a comparative advantage. That's essential for our region. That's one of the great achievements ECOWAS did on the 10 years, but the 10 and 15 years past. Is very, for us, we are proud of that. That's why in Africa level, we are one of the organization. At continental level, we have all these awards. So the new agricultural policy we are working on now, we will involve, in addition of UMOA and SILS, Mano River, Conseil de l'Entente, all the regional economics body together. And also, that's the key. I will speak in French because now they have the asset. Alors, c'est important, et c'est ce que nous avons traduit dans la politique au niveau du secteur riz. C'est extrêmement important. Qu'est-ce que nous avons fait? Nous avons, et ça c'est important, nous sommes la seule organisation régionale qui faisons ça. C'est-à-dire mettre en place un écosystème, aider les pays. Chaque pays de la CEDEAO et hors de la CEDEAO a été aidé. Pour faire quoi? D'abord pour voir les politiques qui sont responsables de ce qui ne va pas. Et premièrement. Deuxièmement, mettre en place un plan d'investissement. Troisièmement, connecter tout cet écosystème à l'écosystème mondial. notamment à travers la Banque mondiale, AGRA, la Banque africaine de développement, comment faire pour mobiliser plus de ressources, pas seulement financières, mais aussi techniques pour ces pays. Ce que nous faisons en tant que région, pour résumer, nous créons un écosystème qui est viable, qui permet de réunir les gens, qui permet d'aligner les organisations en fonction de leurs avantages comparatifs et de donner le leadership en fonction des avantages comparatifs. Deuxième chose que nous faisons, quand nous avons créé l'écosystème, nous nous assurons que nous mobilisons les investissements. Troisième chose que nous faisons, nous assurons qu'au niveau de la région, il y a un leadership certain pour faire quoi? Pour évaluer ce qui est les avancements, tirer les leçons et apprendre ensemble de nos erreurs. Mais l'élément clé qu'il faut retenir au niveau de la CEDEAO, au niveau des politiques, qui soient rizicoles ou la politique agricole globale, c'est créer un écosystème avec l'ensemble des organisations régionales et leur donner du travail à faire et les mettre en lien et j'allais dire leur donner le leadership en fonction de leurs avantages comparatifs dans les secteurs donnés, comme le SILS le fait, comme le CORAF le fait, comme le Mano River va le faire dans le futur, comme l'Evto Gourmand va le faire dans le futur, comme le Conseil de la Terre va le faire dans le futur. Et ça, c'est l'ADN de la CEDEAO et c'est ce que nous faisons et c'est là qu'on nous attend aussi pour régler le problème. Je voulais finir avec un seul point et c'est important comme les ministres sont là. La politique agricole, on a fait beaucoup d'efforts, mais un des grands débats, et je suis content que vous avez vu que dans la plateforme, dans la vision et les axes, nous avons un élément sur comment aider à bâtir les politiques. Il y a un dialogue qu'il faut faire au niveau de notre région entre le rural et l'urbain. Ce dialogue est essentiel pour la politique agricole. Il semble que les politiques mettent plus l'accent sur sauver, avoir des riz moins chers en ville, avec moins d'accent sur comment la rentabilité se fait au milieu rural. C'est un débat essentiel. L'heure est venue aussi, au moment où on parle d'investissement, que nous regardons aussi comment les paysans peuvent gagner leur vie et comment on peut accéder au marché régional important. Et ça, c'est notre rôle, en plus de ce que je vous ai dit. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. Je pense que ça s'applaudit. Et quand on est dans des structures APEX comme ça, on a le sentiment que ce sont des structures qui ne font que faire des réunions. Mais il faut bien des réunions pour s'entendre sur des plans. Il faut s'entendre sur des plans pour s'entendre sur des feuilles de route. Et ensuite, il faut être capable de mobiliser des acteurs ici, comme ce que vous êtes en train de faire avec la Banque mondiale et la Banque africaine de développement, pour stimuler justement l'investissement et les pays en profitent. Merci pour cela. Honorable Minister of Ghana, Eric, you, in your presentation, you said a lot of things that create a lot of round of applause that Ghana is doing. But beyond that, let me ask you a question. What reform or policy measures are most critical to crowd in private investment and strengthen domestic rice value chain? Because in all the narrative I've been hearing, and for years, people are saying private sector are not enough involved. But which private sector? Which one? African's private sector, Ghanaian private sector, or West African private sector? Because you have with the West African free movement of persons and services, the right of establishment. Are we opening the market for the private investors in West Africa? So the floor is yours. It's a little bit complex, I believe, but you have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. In my opening remarks this morning, I laid out Ghana's rice reality and seized the opportunity to announce 2 foundational measures. I spoke about our satellite-based spatial mapping of 100,000 hectares of rice farmland. And I also spoke about our producer-importer quota policy. I do not want to revisit them, but now I want to speak to the deeper policy architecture that surround them. In fact, I'm talking about the critical reforms without which no single announcement can be sufficient to crowd in sustained private investment. The first policy I will talk about is getting the incentives right without distorting the market. Our quota policy is deliberately not a tariff hike. It is not an import ban. It is a market linkage mechanism which must be complemented by a predictable producer pricing framework that will give investors, whether millers, aggregators, or anchor farmers, that confidence to know how much they will pay for paddy and the margin they can expect. The reality is that Ghana is now moving from broad-based subsidies to targeted credit agreements, targeted credit arrangements anchored on offtake agreements. Our goal is that at least 35% of our rice farmers should work under such agreements by 2028. This shift will reduce the fiscal burden on government and also lay a solid and well-structured market system upon which value chain actors can leverage funding. Then we are also looking at another reform. We are looking at making milling and post-harvest segment investable. Just this morning, I noted that our milling conversion rate of 50 to 55% is costing Ghana an estimated $50 to $90 million annually. The constraint is not only technology, it is also attributable to fragmentation in supply. Millers investing in modern equipment need throughput guarantees to justify that capital expenditure. The policy tax is to link our production clusters to the licensed millers through contract frameworks and to provide, very important, to provide time-limited capital grants, or we can call it equipment leasing schemes, to accelerate the retirement of obsolete milling equipment. We are in dialogue with development financing institutions on dedicating rice processing modernization facility that will blend grant and concessional lending to the rest the investment. Then we are also looking at another critical reform, perhaps which is the most underappreciated, rural infrastructure as an investment prerequisite. Investors will not move at scale to production areas where it is difficult to move produce to markets. And it is an incontrovertible truism that good feeder rows reduce post-harvest losses by 30% and raise farm gate prices from 4 to 8%. And so if you improve feeder rows, you are improving the economies of both farmers and the off-takers.
Yeah.
It is against this background that under our Feed Ghana program, we are targeting the rehabilitation of rows linking our production clusters to the market to allow for easy transportation of food to the market so that our farmers can earn something significant from their toil.
Fantastic. I cannot summarize it. I cannot say it more in a better manner. It's resonating on something in my head. Agri-Connect, isn't it? Somehow. So we are watching the World Bank now with the new program, Agri-Connect. Maybe I will give you opportunity later. But let's give the chance to our big brother, Honorable Minister. Every time I'm thinking about Nigeria, I wonder how a Minister of Agriculture can sleep. Because you have to feed about 280 millions of citizens of population. So, well, all due respect to other countries that have lowest population, But in your own case, and it is well documented by ECOWAS, we know that Nigerians has been doing a lot of things. So far, so good with the central bank, etc., etc. Please, Honorable, can you just tell us some several major initiatives and policies that under your leadership and even before were implemented to Nigeria? We know statistically that Nigeria is getting close to 62, 65%, but we are quarreling with your people in the ministries of agriculture. But you are getting close to that point. If a country like Nigeria is getting close to that point, what was the key taken you can share with other ministers here in this room? Over to you. Since you haven't spoken since this morning, I will add 1 minute to you, so you have 6 minutes instead of 5.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Probably need a bit more than that, but I'll try to restrict myself. Distinguished delegates, I'm happy to be here, and I just want to make one small commendation, especially to the president of the ECOWAS Commission and his team for assembling such a gathering. For us in Nigeria, I believe one of the greatest opportunity that we have, like you mentioned, is the growing population. We're expected to be 400 million, the third largest country by 2050. I always make analogy to 2050 being 24 years from today. And we could just remember the turn of the millennium, which is 26 years ago. It seemed like it was yesterday, when the 1999 to 2000. It was just fresh in our memories. So what it means is that 2050 is tomorrow. So I'm happy that we're all sitting down. We have similar growth rates across the countries, even though ours is a bit higher at 2.4%. I believe Ghana is almost 1.5%, I'm not too sure. But of course, that brings to the point that 240 million people can be wrong about their jollof rice against the 35 million people of Ghana. So, but that's another issue. But let us be pragmatic in policies. Let us coordinate ourselves across the whole sub-region. Because if one country is doing something different from another, that gives that imbalance in, and leakages in others to take advantage of, in as much as government is there trying to promote agricultural production, but there are also businessmen that are trying to take advantage of a situation. We have come a long way in terms of promoting rice production in Nigeria. Today, we have an national demand of paddy of about 11.5 million tons, and our production of paddy stands around 9 million tons of paddy, which is still below the required demand of the national. So import bills run to about $1.2 billion every year. And now what it means is that as we grow, it also grows, whatever it is that there's that growth in between. So what we have done in the past is restriction in terms of importation so as to help production. But we also believe that production is not only the avenue for self-sufficiency. The whole value chain must be addressed, everything from aggregation, from processing, from farm to market. Just like my colleague from Ghana had also said, infrastructure plays a very, very vital role. Where food is produced is not necessarily where it's processed, and where it's processed is not necessarily where it's consumed. And we've seen what the processing capacity of Nigeria has blossomed because of the protection of the production. But if you don't have equivalent rise in processing, so what you'll be left with issues with, storage and post-harvest losses and, all the inadequacies between, all the value chains. Even if the market is there, if you can't complete all the value chains, then you may not get your targets. So I'm happy. I have a lot of millers that I hear. Some are doing wonderfully well. Some are being, we still have shocks from last year. I believe all West African countries have experienced the floodgates that were unleashed on Africa in terms of cheap variety of rice, especially coming from Asia. We need to assiduously work together so that we can have a joint protection of our farmers and our millers, because if one country, some of our borders are a bit porous, so we need to really regulate. That's a fiscal issue, that's a custom issue. But for us in the agricultural sector, we're looking at, some of the development partners that are doing wonderfully well, the World Bank, African Development Bank, in terms of, supporting us. Like World Bank is doing a lot on the rural access and, the marketing program RAMP. The one with the Ministry of Water Resources, which invariably will also affect our production. SPIN, which is another major program supported by World Bank. The issue of livestock also, because these are areas that I think we can uplift the whole value chain in terms of rice production. And ECOWAS, the Rice Observatory, which is doing wonderfully well. And Dr. Sila, I will not forget to mention, you've been putting us on our toes for the past 1 year, especially recently we had the disconnect of the fertilizer issue because of the Middle East crisis. And I think this is another area that we need to really look into and see how we're going to address these issues, because, and then research, another major issue on research. I'm happy I have my executive director on SCRA, which is in charge of rice. We've just been talking, and I mandated them to come up with a 60-day variety rice, which would also, because of the climate variability that we have, we need short gestation period of rice. And also the major issue of nutrition. We just recently launched the zinc rice that gives you 40%, at least 40% of your zinc requirements, your daily requirements for zinc. In terms of nutrition, because food security also has to deal with nutritious food. So we believe these are areas that we need to not just consumption of food, but consumption of nutritious food. So we believe that we can work together across the region and see we can form common programs. We have our own programs, but we can share with, especially through the ECOWAS Commission, so that we can all adopt this. We have done wonderfully well in terms of rice production. Thank you.
Thank you. Fantastic. Yeah, thank you. This is a subsidiary question for you, because you were mandated during the last ECOWAS ministerial meeting to help other ministers to access to fertilizer in your country, because you have the 2 fertilizer manufacturer power plant installed there. Certainly they will come back to you later to see how far. I'm also helping the commissioner, he's my friend somehow, so he wants to see concrete result on that particular issues. It's a subsidiary question, so we'll come back maybe on that. We'll do language balance. I will come back to you, Honorable Minister of Sierra Leone. Let me move to Monsieur le Ministre Komoé Bernard de la Côte d'Ivoire. Bon, quelqu'un a dit tout à l'heure dans les chiffres que nous avons des tendances de croissance de la production à 44% chaque année. Malheureusement, on n'y arrive pas. Donc ça veut dire que la croissance de production n'arrive pas à rencontrer la courbe là, que le commissaire montrait, n'arrive pas à se fusionner avec les tendances de besoin de croissance en matière de consommation de riz. Donc, à mesure que les pays augmentent leur production, la compétitivité et même l'intégration dans les marchés régionaux deviennent de plus en plus importantes. La question est la suivante. quelles actions politiques, parce qu'on sait que vous, en Côte d'Ivoire, qui était dans un passé grand producteur, exportateur de riz, est devenu maintenant grand importateur de riz. Donc, quelles sont les actions politiques nécessaires pour améliorer cette compétitivité du riz produit localement, mais aussi renforcer le commerce régional? Je fais la parenthèse. Je n'ai pas dit que c'est vous, mais on a fait le décompte des interdictions de sortie des produits alimentaires dans l'espace ouest africain. Il y en a 15. Donc, il y a 15 États qui prennent des mesures pour dire on ne veut pas que la nourriture aille à tel ou tel endroit. Donc, j'espère que vous cernez ma question. Vous avez la parole. 5 minutes. Merci.
En tout cas, merci beaucoup, Monsieur Alain Traoré, mon ami. Je remercie la CEDEAO avec le Ghana qui a bien voulu nous accueillir pour permettre de prendre part. C'est clair, effectivement, la Côte d'Ivoire, dans les années 70, on était un peu en 70, 75 autosuffisance en riz. Et tout d'un coup, nous sommes devenus grands importateurs de riz. De nombreux efforts ont été effectués. On a même mis en place une agence de développement de la filière riz. Mais on s'est rendu compte que, effectivement, l'importation même est croissante. Et comme la vice-présidente le disait, importer son alimentation, c'est importer la vulnérabilité. Et pour nous, c'est les questions de compétitivité, c'est assez essentiel. En Côte d'Ivoire, c'est près de 1 milliard de dollars, plus d'1 milliard de dollars de riz qui est importé en 2025. Et quand on regarde l'urbanisation, c'est la population croissante. Actuellement, il y a un marché potentiel qui tourne autour de presque 3 milliards de riz, sans oublier les activités connaître, qui doit aller atteindre ce niveau. Donc, il est clair qu'en matière de compétitivité, il y a beaucoup d'axes ou d'actions qu'il est nécessaire. Et je pense que l'une des premières actions qui est au-dessus, c'est l'ambition politique, ou accorder toute une importance politique à la matière du riz. Et je pense que c'est ce qui traduit cette conférence, c'est ce qui traduit ce que effectuent les chefs d'État. Mais de façon spécifique, on pourrait s'orienter d'un premier temps sur la réduction des coûts de production et surtout la question de productivité qui sera nécessaire. Et l'une des questions liées à la production, c'est les infrastructures de production. Je pense qu'il est nécessaire d'investir énormément dans l'infrastructure de production. Quand vous partez au Vietnam, l'un des grands producteurs de riz, c'est véritablement les infrastructures d'irrigation qui ont été investies par l'État. Et il est essentiel que nous y orientons. Et si la question de productivité, question de semences, question de mécanisation, comment impliquer la recherche dans les questions des semences de haut rendement, et mieux, nous avons des atouts comme Africa West qui est là, comment exploiter ce potentiel. On pourrait ajouter au mieux exploiter le dispositif de digitalisation qui s'intègre et à promouvoir la question de réduction des coûts de production et aussi de la productivité. Le deuxième axe serait véritablement la qualité même du riz. C'est essentiel de regarder la qualité du riz. Et là, je pense que l'un des premiers éléments, c'est de mettre à niveau les unités de transformation de riz qui se mettent en place. C'est véritablement, je pense que ça a été ajouté, la question de fortification qui sont assez essentielles, entre autres. Je pense que l'autre point essentiel, c'est aussi toutes les infrastructures de logistique, le transport. Le ministre ghanéen évoquait tout à l'heure comment avoir accès à des zones de production qui permettraient de réduire les coûts de production, comment mettre en place des infrastructures de stockage, les infrastructures, on pourrait dire des plateformes logistiques qui permettent d'assurer le stockage avec des silos, entre autres. Je pense qu'un autre point, c'est aussi essentiel pour les échanges entre les États. Et je pense que l'administration entre États pour faciliter les échanges doit être facilitée, doit être flexible. Il y a les procédures douanières qu'il faut alléger. Et je pense que le dernier point pour nous, c'est comment est-ce qu'on pourrait encourager l'achat du riz local. Et l'achat du riz local, je pense que le premier investisseur ou bien le premier marché à assurer, c'est la commande publique. comment, dans un premier temps, la commande publique pour tout ce qui se va vers les militaires, vers les écoles, on puisse l'encourager. Je pense que l'un des points essentiels, ça sera des dispositions à mettre en place pour les citations du secteur privé. Et là, d'abord, leur assurer tout un ensemble de mécanismes qui permettra l'investissement. Je pense qu'à notre niveau, cela devrait nous permettre d'assurer que notre riz soit compétitif vis-à-vis du riz importé. Merci.
Excellent, excellent. Je pense que le ministre ghanéen, dans son discours le matin, avait évoqué ça. Si je te donne la licence d'importer du riz, je devais t'obliger à acheter du riz chez les producteurs d'abord. Là, c'est une bonne façon de promouvoir le local. Thank you very much. Let me move to the last but not the least. Dr. Henry, Honorable Minister of Sierra Leone. We know also, it is well documented that Sierra Leone is also taking a very, very huge step for the rice self-sufficiency there. My question is, how can government sustain political momentum? And I believe you understand what I'm saying. You know, when we are observing that when a country is facing crisis, yesterday it was COVID-19, before it was the crisis of 2008, before we have Russia and Ukraine civil war, now we are talking about Dortmund, or what is the name again? Those times, government will take incentive and courageous measures. After the crisis, it's like everything is coming down back again. So what is your thought about that? What could be sustainable political momentum and ensure long-term implementation of national rice transformation? Over to you. 5 minutes also.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me also add my voice to thanking the people of Ghana and ECOWAS, the President, the Commissioner, for hosting us and for bringing this very important topic to the region here today. Thank you for that question. I think the way we are approaching it in Sierra Leone actually makes for us to be able to weather these storms that come with cycles, whether it's crises or politics. And what do I mean by that? I know, as you've heard from everybody and even the high-level session earlier today, we know in West Africa the rice problem really has to do with competitiveness. What does that mean? It means, can our farmers produce the same quality of rice consistently over time and sell it cheaper than rice that is produced outside the region, imported into the country, into the region? If the answer is no to that, it's going to be always harder for our farmers to get into that business and make money, or for that matter, investors that we're looking to come into the space. And so the approach we are taking is, how do we address, at one level, at the farmer level, is profitability, right? How do they make sure the cost and time that they're putting in when they sell their rice, they can be able to make money out of it? And at a sort of bigger level is, can they compete with imported rice coming in? And if you think about that problem in a structured way, in a longer term way, we've tried many, many things. But I think because of limited time, because of limited resources, and lessons that we've learned over the years, we've thought about, okay, we know in our country that there are areas where the geography is right, the people want and know how to grow rice, this is what they do culturally. And so as government, we say, you know what, we're not going to scatter limited resources all over the place for rice. Let us identify these areas, these geographies, let us map them very well, and then invest there. Invest in the basic infrastructure that is needed. So your irrigation, your road infrastructure, energy that we want. We say, let's do that there. Because when we do that, the very limited resources can be concentrated in these areas. So that's the first thing. We say, in these areas, let's map our swells, let's understand the land tenure ownership system, so that when investors come and want to invest, they can do that very well. And so Same way in the production, we've also said, okay, where you produce may not necessarily be where you process as well. So let's find areas where we want processing to be done. And so we've also identified areas, and we're working with a lot of partners in the room, African Development Bank, the World Bank on some irrigation that we're going to do, and African Development Bank with SAP's rice processing zone that we're going to do. And these are strategically located in those areas where we want to increase the density of the infrastructure that we need to be able to make this outlive any one administration or any one minister for that matter. And so when you do that, you are going to come to a point where private sector wants to come, because the bottlenecks for competitiveness, for profitability are those issues. Are you going to be able to produce cheaply and send to the market? Yep. Now, we are targeting private sector to come in, but we're not leaving the smallholders as well. At the same time, in these geographic areas that we've identified, we will empower smallholder farmers by making sure the technologies that are needed are provided for, that we provide financing for them, that we provide insurance so that they can take the loan, grow the rice, and then bring it to these milling places that can be aggregated. And we are highlighting investments in logistics as well. And so for me, if you do all of this, it's going to transcend cycles, right? And on the politics front, rice in West Africa, by the way, for us in Sierra Leone, I'm not going to wade into the Jollof war because the Honorable Vice President said it's decided. Sierra Leone, we've perfected the Jollof. And we eat the rice 3 times a day. So, in fact, I've not eaten rice since I've come here. So, I'm a bit, I'm not even, But for us, politically, our people love rice so much that we need to convince them to say, if we are going to be able to grow our own rice here, it needs to be competitive. So we need to raise the barrier a little bit for rice, especially imported from outside the region. And that challenge is a big challenge for us. And I think across the regions, when I took a paper to cabinet to say, we're going to increase import duty on imported rice from outside the region by 10%, people were like, at the time there was riot in Kenya, people were like, are you crazy? Do you want people to get in the streets and riot? Is that what you want? This is we eat this rice, this thing 3 times a day. So politically, we also have to bring our people along to understand the problem properly, that you're not going to be able to solve it overnight, that it's going to take some of these steps. And of course, from a general equilibrium point of view, yes, cheaper rice from elsewhere increases the general welfare for everybody. I think it's only when we had COVID and now all these crises when people decide to block importation that nobody asked the question, why do you need to grow your rice? But there was a time people asked us, why do you need to grow your rice if you can just bring it for Asia? This is a question people ask, and it was legitimate at some point. But now we know we can't rely on that we need to do it ourselves. And I think the approach where, and I liked the PowerPoint presentation that the commissioner did, highlighted all these basins in West Africa. Fantastic. These rice basins, we can structure investment attraction approaches, but on these basins.
Okay.
By the way, our SAPZ that we're doing, it's in Cambia. Cambia is 30 minutes from the Liberia border. Mm-hmm. Our other rice zone is 1 hour, it's from the Guinea border. The other one in the south, Bondapi, is 1 hour from the Liberia border. Why do we do that? Because we know there's market there. So we're 8 million people. If we grow enough rice, we need to sell some. We're now 73% self-sufficient, but we need to sell. And I think as a region, sometimes the challenge we have in attracting these kinds of investments, nobody's going to come and do a big mill if there's no paddy to mill it. But if it's strategically located that it can feed from a number of regions, it makes a lot of economic sense for that investment. And I think that's how we should be thinking about investing and making sure we make this crisis-proof in the long term.
Thank you.
And really, I think also...
last point.
Very last
yes,
point.
Please,
this is important. Everybody, we need to open up. So for Sierra Leone, that is 8 million, we need all the markets, the 400 million in in the region. So I know we talk about import bans, import duties, but let it be for outside the region. Because then you begin to deliberately create the space for investors to say, if I invest in Sierra Leone, I can sell my rice in Nigeria, Liberia, and Guinea. Vice versa, either way, that there is no barrier to that. If we do that as a region, we can begin to solve this challenge.
Thank you so much. Let us applaud for them. I think we have harvested a lot of insightful information. We have now 19 minutes to close the session. We are moving to the part 2 of the session. We don't just want you, the honorable minister, just to speak. I will raise a global question for all of us here, but not all of you will answer. I will select some particular people in the room. So the question is as follows. What are the most important actions that government, development partners, and the private sector must collectively, I am insisting, collectively, okay, take over for the next 3-5 years? The commissioner you are seeing here, we have the plan for 2025, isn't to 2035. So, but from today to the next 3-5 years, what can we do? This is really, so we are pushing your brain to help the Secretariat and the Commission to harvest pretty good ideas so that we can move together. And things we cannot give the floor to everyone because we only have 17 minutes to go for lunch. I want to see if in the room we have, yes, I'm checking my list. Yes, Honorable Denis Demba Sembali, are you in the room? Yes, he is front here. Yes, please.
Thank you so much. Actually, to summarize, since I'm only allowed to speak for a minute, the take-home that the government, the private sector can do together, including our development partners, for Gambia's context, first is land development. This has been our bottleneck, and this is something that smallholder farmers cannot do by themselves, and government find it challenging to do by itself too. So as government, development partners, and private sector, for us, developing 20,000 hectares in the next 5 years is our path to rice self-sufficiency. Of course, this will be coupled with very good policies regarding rice importation, regarding the market access, regarding support to smallholder farmers, mechanization, soil and water management.
Don't say everything. Let the other also add their own.
Sorry?
No, continue. I just want you to land.
Good. Actually, land development for us is primary and is key. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. The next in my list is David Akoy from Liberia. Is it in the room?
I want to start with my brother from the Gambia. That the issue of land development is a serious challenge in the agriculture sector, even in Liberia. So we look at land development, then we come to the processing aspect of this entire rice value chain. Processing in Liberia has become a challenge.
Okay.
And we could call on our development partners to actually aid us, even investors to aid us in that area, where they were strengthening processing and branding of the local rice in Liberia. Yes.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
So this will be one of your takeaway. For the next 3-5 years, we should work on that. Okay, the next. Minister of Finance of the Gambia, you are back? Okay, you have the floor. Please. You hear the question? Did you hear the question, sir? Before you go to the, you hear the question? You want me to repeat it?
Yeah, can you repeat the question, please,
Key
if you don't
take
mind?
action for the next 3-5 years. Just 1 or 2.
Well, the basic, thank you very much. This is a very strategic sector, and the investment should be to fund the land development, input management, and the subsidy in the agricultural sector. We will require an investment total of about 329 million from the government, the private sector, and the partners. Already we have about 51 million already committed from the partners. So the balance of the 278 is what we require government, the private sector to come in order to achieve the rice self-sufficiency goal by the National Rice Investment Action Plan, which
Very
the
good.
government has developed. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much. Let me turn to the Minister of Chad. You know, ECOWAS Commissioner was saying that we are in West Africa. So usually we work with Chad, even Mauritania, etc. They are taking benefit and profit for what ECOWAS is doing. And we are happy to have all our ministers here. Donc, quelles sont, selon vous, les deux ou trois actions à mener dans les 3-5 années à venir?
Merci beaucoup. Notre président dit qu'il faut aller du champ à l'estomac, c'est-à-dire travailler sur la chaîne de valeur. Et nous importons 100 millions de tonnes de riz de l'extérieur. Et cela nous coûte environ 10 milliards de francs CFA.
Qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire pour éviter
Ce
ça?
qu'il faut faire, c'est de développer les ressources que nous avons. Nous avons 335 000 hectares de terre facilement irrigables. Il faudrait que nous puissions aménager, réaménager ce qui reste, utiliser les eaux souterraines. Et nous devons également travailler sur la phase post-récolte, la transformation, le stockage et vendre. Et nous invitons les privés, puisque nous avons des terres, il faudrait que les privés viennent nous aider, enfin produire pour eux, la population puisse en bénéficier et pour mieux vendre. C'est comme ça que nous voulons utiliser toutes les ressources que nous avons puisque nous avons déjà la base de la sécurité alimentaire. Ce qui nous reste, c'est l'autonomisation économique des jeunes, des femmes, et la phase qu'il faut maintenant transformer pour permettre aux jeunes et aux femmes d'avoir des ressources. Et le PND, le Plan national de développement Tchad Connexion 2030, nous demande de doubler la production pour pouvoir vendre, développer le marché. Et voilà, c'est ce qu'il faut faire.
C'est bien noté. Merci beaucoup. I would like now to invite, Honorable Minister, you have a second minister from Tanzania in the room. Where is he? Can you raise your hand? Yes, he's there. Can you give him the mic, madam? He's by my left, there. You have the floor. So, looking at the experience of the Tanzania, yes. Smart action.
I think the government should, first of all, engage in strong political commitment and long-term vision. Countries should have the strategic investment in irrigation and rural infrastructure, and must have the farmer-centered extension and technological dissemination system. And they should also deal with the research-driven productivity improvements and active private sector engagement across the value chain. I think this should be the critical success factors in the next 5 years.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Before I came back to you, Honorable Minister, in the panel for your word of conclusions, and again, you will be telling us 1 or 2 things to do. So start thinking about it. I will allow the room for 1 or 2 questions. Who want to raise 1 or 2 questions? So the consultant that was there, please, you have the floor. Quick to the question. We know diagnostic. No, we know. We have the diagnostic. What is your question? Go ahead.
Merci. Je suis consultant économiste. Je pense que en réalité, ce qu'il nous faut pour la riziculture, c'est associer les cultures des rentes dans la culture du riz. Parce que nous sommes en train de faire un travail au Cameroun qui démontre que si nous associons le soja et l'arachide dans la culture du riz, nous allons réduire les coûts de production de près de 40%. Parce que le problème que nous avons, c'est que les coûts de production du riz sont extrêmement élevés et ne rendent pas effectivement notre riz compétitif par rapport au riz qui est importé. La deuxième solution que nous proposons, c'est de mettre au niveau des États une caisse de stabilisation. Nous avons constaté que si nous mettons en place seulement 100 francs, nous pouvons, à l'espace de 3 ans, mettre près de 3 000 milliards. Et cet argent pourra être donc mis en place pour structurer la filière, parce que les filières sont structurées, mais l'interconnexion au niveau des filières pose un problème au niveau de l'écosystème. Voilà ce que je propose en tant que consultant économiste. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Je pense que l'ITA, la FAO, Africa Rice, ils sont tous dans la salle. Je ne sais pas comment on peut faire les associations de culture, RIP, etc., etc. Ce sont beaucoup plus un avis très important agronomique, c'est à regarder. Est-ce qu'il y a une deuxième? Is there anyone who has a burning question?
Yes.
Okay, I will pre-identify before. I have you, and there is, I can't see very well, yes, and then that will it. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you
stand
very
up. Please stand up so that, yes. No, the gentleman that is raising his hand, can you stand up? Vous pouvez vous lever, s'il vous plaît. Voilà, attendez d'abord. So please, go ahead. Raise your question.
Hello. Thank you very much. I'm actually representing from the Ministry of Finance, Sierra Leone. I had wanted to come in, here. Just to support my agricultural minister there in Sierra Leone, we have put several fiscal policies in place to support large-scale agricultural production, particularly rice production. Because one thing we have done is, which the minister initially touched on, is for us to discourage rice importation. From 2024, we started with imposition of 5% duty on imported rice. Then last year it was increased to 10%. And what we are doing also is to make sure that with the risk investment into the rice production area, World Bank has been working with us to create market connectivity through construction of bridges, and we are now currently working with other partners, the ISDB, Badia, the African Development Bank, in making sure that at least we enforce this connectivity, rural connectivity, to create access to market by construction of rural roads, and also making sure that at least we provide fiscal incentives to farmers for increased rice production. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I will quiz Shakib later to ask him if what all of us we are saying is relating to his here, how we can fund them. Because we are asking action, concrete action, what to do. Yes, sir, you have the floor.
Merci beaucoup. Moi, c'est plutôt une proposition, pas une question. Malabo recommande 10% de nos budgets à consacrer au secteur agricole. Je recommande moi aussi 3% de nos budgets à consacrer à la chaîne de valeur riz, puisqu'on a beaucoup de ministres, y compris des ministres des Finances et des ministres de l'Agriculture. Je suis persuadé qu'en consacrant 3% de nos budgets annuels à la chaîne de valeur riz sur 5 ans, très probablement, on se rapproche de l'autosuffisance. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup. Merci. On va parler à un ministre des Finances et honorable minister of Finance. Let's do that exercise. In most of the meeting, we say, let's allocate 10% to agriculture. Let's allocate 5% to rice. Let's allocate another 5% to livestock. Let's allocate another 3% to, cocoa. Let's allocate what will be remaining in the budget in your hand to do other things. So you are the last speaker before I move to my colleague here on the panel.
Yes. Thank you very much. I'm from the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning. And many countries and most agriculture ministries will be concerned about the financing side of it. But we think that we need to be very strategic, especially so when we're talking about regional development. One of the areas of major needs and concern is look at the seed development to ensure that you have the right seed and finance the investment so that the country or the region can have seed that is more compatible, that you look at better yield and productivity in the agriculture sector. Like this, it becomes a very useful and strategic investment. And I think from all conversation that we're having right now is how can we make ourselves more competitive as a region?
Yes.
The reason why you are looking at the Asian bloc investing more and bringing a cheaper rice in the region is where they have really invested more into research and productivity in the agriculture sector. And as a result, as a country, Liberia, I think we have actually decided to finance area of agriculture, looking at all of these value chain to ensure productivity in the agriculture sector. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let me turn my panelists. You see on the screen, we have only 3 minutes. So I'll give you one minute. Key action, take away, please.
Actually, the key actions, first of all, is to develop mechanisms to reduce cost of production for farmers so that you can attract more farmers. So in Tanzania, what we did, first of all, we established a rural roads agency, of which actually the main task is to make sure that the rural roads are accessible throughout the year. And the government took initiative to electrification all villages in Tanzania.
Thank you.
And third is to give assurance to farmers that there is a predictable price in market. For that, actually, we have National Food Reserve Agency, of which actually during the harvest, the farmers, they are not need to suffer. They have a special place they can sell their product, and then also they have choice to sell wherever they want. But at least the government always intervene by ensuring a market through National Food Reserve Agency. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. What's your takeaway? 1, 2 action?
Yes, I think all the ministers I met during my tenure, Mr. Opoko, Minister Kerry, Mr. Musagwaka, Mr. Komoe, all of them tell me regional market should work. Let's connect the regional market, the connectivity to regional market and make them work. If the regional market works, we will have adoption of a new technology, because no farmer will adopt technology without, benefits, without gain. So that's one. And second thing, very important, and it will also change the rural area. So the regional market should work. And this is something very important. We digitalize the rural market. We make them work with a mechanism for financing, mechanism for free movement, and so on and so forth. This is a key to make to perform in terms of rice sector. That's my last comment. Thank you so much.
We dream on a scenario where Nigerian milling factories that are immense can buy paddy in Burkina, in Ghana, in Benin, and bring them in Nigeria. Why not? It's possible. Yes, Honorable Minister, your takeaway.
Yes. My point is that we have to stimulate demand among our people.
Good.
Every producer produces in anticipation of demand.
Yes.
So if the demand is not there, there is no motivation for the private investor to invest in the process. Our people must understand that if they patronize rice produced in our countries, they are building the capacity of our farmers, our aggregators, our millers to expand and employ more people.
Fantastic.
But if they buy imported products, they are rather exporting jobs to outside our region at the peril of our youth. Anticipatory production stifles economic growth and lead to costly waste, misallocation of resources. As we speak in Ghana, our farmers have produced rice in abundance. We are not getting market. I discussed with my colleague, Minister of Nigeria, and he said, my brother, I'm also in the same problem. Why is it that we have the rice here, yet our people are patronizing imported rice?
I agree with you.
If it is cheaper, remember beyond the purchase, your children, your brothers and sisters, your neighbors, all of them, they are looking for jobs. How do we get them gainful employment? So it must be a collective responsibility. As policymakers, we are designing the policies, we are implementing them, but we expect the populace to also reciprocate so that together we can achieve our objectives.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Yes, Honorable Minister from Nigeria.
Thank you very much. I think we can achieve all the rice sufficiency in both Nigeria and also in West Africa. However, I think we need to move not only from the import substitution policy, but we also have to do reforms in seed systems, irrigation systems, mechanization,
yes,
access to finance, land governance. I hear people talk about land development, value chain development. Must be accompanied by stronger regional coordination. I think we need to coordinate as a region to make sure that we achieve all these issues. I think for us in Nigeria, We have a wonderful workforce. We have a booming private sector that can drive the rice productivity and also the value chain.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you. I really want to double down on the comments my colleague minister from Ghana has just made. The point about our people buying our local rice, it's not trivial. Usually there's a small price difference. And we know for marginal communities or city dwellers, this makes a difference. Fair enough. But it is a bitter pill we must convince our people to swallow to do that. Now, we're not going to say that's the end of the policy. We also ought to invest in infrastructure because it's the roads, it's the energy, it's the processing efficiency that is going to make eventually prices of the produce that we produce locally become cheaper for our people to afford, even as we are fighting and that. And then finally, I think also land development, I think is major as a plan for 10 years, 20 years. Land development is very important because when you do it right, irrigation becomes easier, mechanization becomes easier. Those of us that have traveled and seen places where farms are old, they're big, they've developed the land over time. Yes. And it's there, it's an asset for them to build on. So those are the 3 points that I will say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Monsieur le ministre, alors, 1, 2 actions majeures. Et dans 2 ans, on va demander aux commissaires s'ils ont pu faire ça ou pas. Les micros ne marchent pas. It should be working.
Ok, merci beaucoup. Je pense que pour nous, il n'y a plus à réfléchir sur la question de l'opportunité de continuer à produire de riz ou pas parce que nous avons été déjà confrontés à des problèmes qui ont mis en mal, on pourrait dire, notre question de souveraineté. Donc, pour nous, la question essentielle, c'est la production, c'est la disponibilité et l'accessibilité à la production. Il est clair que nous avons des petits producteurs. Comment atteindre leur niveau de productivité assez avancé? Et pour ça, l'une des actions actuellement qui sont en train d'être envisagées, comment améliorer les facteurs de production de ces petits producteurs. Pour la question de mécanisation, leur permettre d'avoir accès à des services de mécanisation, à des semences améliorées, mais aussi encourager le secteur privé. Il est clair, il y a un certain nombre d'investissements qui sont des investissements lourds auxquels le secteur privé ne peut pas le faire, mais il faut que nous l'amorçons à travers le secteur public. Et pour ça, c'est pour ça que nous saluons la présence de la Banque mondiale de la BAD pour continuer à nous aider dans ce sens à mettre en place des infrastructures lourdes et pour captiver le secteur privé et avoir toute une synergie d'intervention entre les petits producteurs et les gros producteurs. Merci.
Thank you so much. I think they deserve another round of applause for the job done. So I will invite you, Honorable Minister, to just stand up here. They will take a group photo for you. And then I will hand over the mic to the MC.
Thank you.